Ocean Pines is a vibrant residential community nestled on Maryland's eastern shore. With over 9 miles of waterfront property, amenities like an 18-hole championship golf course and a public yacht club, and a rich history dating back to 1968. Of course, if you live here, you probably know most of that. And if you don't, it's almost all apparent from your first visit. Each week on the Pines Cast, we work to bring out the ocean pines that might be less apparent. We celebrate the region, the amenities, and, most of all, the people who make and keep Ocean Pines a special place to live. Welcome to the Pines Cast, your source of news and insights about Ocean Pines and the official podcast of the Ocean Pines Association. This week, we are speaking with Linda Yershi and Gary Miller, who are members of the Communications Committee and the Aquatics Committee, respectively. And they're mostly going to talk about the upcoming season kickoff, where people come and see all that Ocean Pines has to offer in one small space. Well, largish space now, but I'll let them tell you about that. And also, they want to talk about the Good Neighbor Project, which has just started. A little quick show note. We recorded this at the end of February, and we made some sort of jokes about, well, next week, but obviously this is coming out at the end of March. But what's most important is the event isn't until May 17th, and you can find information on how to participate in any way you see fit in the show notes. But enough of that. Let's get to the show. Here are Linda and Gary. So your voices should be easy enough to distinguish from one another, but people still may not know who you are. So if I could get each of you to introduce yourselves one at a time and tell me a little bit about how you got to Ocean Pines, how you chose to move there, how long you've been there, those kinds of things.
Hi, I'm Linda Yershi. I moved to Ocean Pines full-time 5 years ago from the Baltimore area. One of those folks who came down the ocean every year to vacation and wanted to retire here. So my husband and I bought a house here almost 6 years ago, and we've been here full-time since COVID.
And Gary?
We decided, we'd lived in Linthicum up by BWI Airport for more than 20 years. And I grew up in Linthicum and went to high school there. So we'd come down to the ocean on occasion. But when I got to retirement, my wife was working from home, we decided to come down and look for an investment property. And we bought a house in 2003. And then 3 years later, we decided we were moving down here permanently and have never looked back.
And just because I'm curious, did you move into the rental house or did you get a different house?
We moved into the house that we bought, and it wasn't a rental at the time. We had just decided we were going to have a vacation home. And after being down here for 2 years on weekends, we decided that we were missing out on not being down here full time.
Very, very, very cool. And you both are really involved in the community. So if you could tell me some of the things, how did you get involved with the aquatics, for example?
I started going to water aerobic classes way back when Colby was still teaching them, and now started getting interested in what was going on in Ocean Pines, and asked Colby if there was some sort of committee or anything that helped with the aquatics department, and she kind of pointed me to go to the administration building and look and see what different committees had openings. And aquatics was looking for some people, and our house in Linthicum had a pool, an in-ground pool. So I knew a little bit about how to keep pools clean and safety issues, things like that. So I was accepted onto that committee. After being with that committee for a while, I became the chair of the committee, and that's where I am today.
How did you get involved, Linda, in the committees? Because you're not on aquatics, you're on a different committee.
I'm the chair of the Communications Advisory Committee. And I spent almost 40 years in journalism and PR and marketing. And when I retired, I still had all these ideas and energy around using communication for good. And so I reached out to the communications committee and applied to be on it, joined it. And then after a year or so, the old chair, decided to step back and ask me to take over. So I've been doing that for a couple of years now.
And what are some of the things, to each of you, what are some of the things that drew you to the service aspect of being part of these committees?
Being retired and looking for something to do with my time was one of the big things. I've always been in sales and marketing, so being involved in community activities and promoting different things was kind of what my background was. So it was just a matter of, I needed something to do with my life now that I was retired, and volunteering at different committees was one way to do that.
And in my case, my whole career I spent in mission-driven organizations. So I worked in the arts, I worked in journalism, I worked for multiple media companies, multiple arts organizations, a tech company that serves the labor union community. So I had always this mission-driven mindset where doing good is the way you do well. And I always felt that was a good thing to do. So here it just made so much sense to continue to be mission-driven, even as a retiree, because I love this community and I want to contribute to it. So.
And so we're here to talk mostly about the upcoming season kickoff, and that's, I guess, a new thing. How long ago did that start, and how did that start?
Well, it started with the aquatics committee 3 years ago. Now we were sitting around and trying to figure out what we could do to increase pool memberships, and we started a discussion on why some people weren't really familiar with all the different pools. Some people didn't know we had 5 different pools.
And remember, this was coming out of COVID, so you sort of had to rebuild people's habits of getting together and doing things in public.
Right, because there were a lot of people who moved down there in the interim.
Right. So the aquatics committee thought it would be a great idea to just have some sort of event where people could go around and look at the different pools and find out more about them. And as the discussion grew, people on the committee said, well, wait a minute. No, we've also got golf, we've got racket sports, we've got all these different clubs and organizations that people can join. So maybe we need to expand the people that we're going to be trying to bring together. And we took it to the board, and the board said, well, now you've got to create a subcommittee. So we did that. We got approval from the board to actually form a separate committee. And that kind of grew. We contacted people from most of the amenities and organizations and got them to volunteer to be on the committee. And then it just kind of grew from there.
And what was like the first year like, as opposed to more recent years? Like how many things have you added? How much learning have you had to do along the way?
Well, last year was the first year.
It took a few years for the idea came up a couple of years ago, but it took a while for it to actually come together. So 2024 was the first Ocean Pines season kickoff.
Oh, how exciting. And so what was it like?
It turned out to be, planning it turned out to be a lot more involved and complicated than I think Linda and I originally thought. But we got a lot of local organizations to come. White Horse Park was pretty full.
We actually sold out of exhibitor spaces because we had planned this for a Saturday a little later in the day than the farmers market, and we wanted to kind of make sure we didn't overlap our footprint with the farmers market. So we sort of had a limited number of spaces. And when we got to more than 80 exhibitors, we realized, wow, we really don't have space to properly accommodate more. So we sort of sold out of spaces, and it was great. We then had 80 organizations, businesses, amenities, clubs show up for that. And about 1,000 residents came out. We had a beautiful day for April, warm and sunny day, and about 1,000 people came out to the event. So it was fantastic. Oh, food trucks. We also had food trucks and food and beverage. We had entertainment. It became quite a big party.
Yes, it did. And as Linda said, we had food trucks, we had a beer truck, and we had the martial arts studio from over in Pines Plaza do a demonstration. We had, I think,
The
the
Pine
Pine Tone,
Tones, the Delmarva
the Marva
chorus.
Chorus.
Yeah,
So we had a lot of things for people to do. And this year we're kind of expanding that. We're moved from White Horse Park to Veterans Memorial Park. So the footing's going to be a lot easier for people to get around. We've got more room for parking. The
for exhibitors.
vendors
Yeah.
can bring their trucks in and really set up a little bit bigger space. We've got Tidal Health and AGH are kind of combining a little bit to do some demonstrations and some.
Yeah, we have really emphasized, as last year we started out this way, and we've really emphasized with our exhibitors and our sponsors to try and create interactive exhibits. Don't just have a booth with somebody handing out literature. Let's do something that really engages attendees. So have a lesson, have a contest, have a game, you have a giveaway. So with having two big healthcare sponsors, AGH and Tidal Health, last year they did this and this year they're going to expand it. They do screenings. So they can do a blood pressure screening. They can do, a vision screening. They can also have demonstrations of, healthy posture or healthy eating. So we're really trying to make everything interactive so that this isn't just a walk around and collect brochures event, but it's an event where people really engage with these organizations and start to get a sense in a very personal way of what they love about it, what they could learn from it, how they could benefit from it. And the hospitals have been really terrific coming up with ideas for interactive exhibits.
Rather than people feeling like they're walking through and then they get to the end and like, okay, my day is done. I walked through, I saw all the stuff on the tables. Now I can leave. It's something that it's a destination rather than a way to kill an hour before you do something more interesting.
And this year, I think that will be even more the case because last year we did it from 3 to 7 p.m. This year we've moved it to, it's a Saturday, it's 11 to 3, and we're going to expand our food truck and food and beverage offerings. The new pavilion at Veterans Memorial Park will become sort of a food court and we'll have our food trucks around that. And the idea is because it's over lunchtime, people can come sit, listen to the chorus perform, take their games or their giveaways and sit with their kids and have a beverage and really kind of spend time with their neighbors. It's about having people get to know all these great organizations, amenities, businesses. But partly it's also about having neighbors connect with one another and spend time with one another. It's the time of year when everybody's coming out of hibernation and ready to reconnect with their neighbors and start thinking about summer and summer fun. So we really are trying to make it a destination, as you said, where there are things to do, where there's a place to hang out. Just get to know your neighbors, get to know these great organizations.
Well, and the other aspect of that is it doesn't like die down. It's not like people standing around empty tables waiting for their chance to go home. It's more likely that people will stay over as everyone's packing up because they still have the rest of the day in front of them.
Exactly.
And one of the big things that we are emphasizing is this is to promote everything that Ocean Pines has to offer its residents and visitors. So it really is to highlight all the great things that happen here in Ocean Pines. And one of the booths that we're going to have is one specifically for the info at oceanpines.org, where they'll be able to answer questions that people have about how to register for different classes, and we'll also be selling the Ocean Pines merchandise at the booth. So it's something to bring the community together and to highlight all the great things that this community offers.
When can people get involved in this? Like, have you already sold out of your displays? Is it too late for that? How do people get involved if they want to get involved? This is May 17th, as I understand.
May 17th is the event, and we will be accepting exhibitor registrations right up to 2 weeks before. So there's still plenty of time for people to register your business, your organization, your club. If you want to be a performer, if you want to come and give something away or do a demo, there's still plenty of time. What I would encourage people to do is go to oceanpinesseasonkickoff.com. That's where we have the forms for people to download to register their organization or business and or become a sponsor. And it's also where we're posting who all is signed up as an exhibitor. So if you're an attendee, you can say, oh, I've been interested in a new HVAC company and there's 3 of them going to be there. I'm going to go and check that out. So we're really trying to provide information for sponsors, exhibitors, organizations, and attendees. So again, if anybody goes to oceanpinesseasonkickoff.com, you can get all the info on the event and download forms you need. Or you can send an email to opseasonkickoff@gmail.com. And both of those ways people can sign up to be part of this. And if people would like to volunteer to be part of the committee, to be part of the day of the crew that it takes to put this on that day, you can also use the website or the Gmail address to sign up as a volunteer. We'd love to have you as a volunteer. If you want to donate a raffle item for the raffle, there are so many ways for people to get involved.
And what Linda just started to mention is that we do have raffle prizes that will be part of this. So in addition to making it a nice little way for people to go around and possibly win prizes, it's also a nice way for the different businesses to promote their product by donating either a gift certificate or a little basket of their products or whatever. So we're actually still looking specifically for prizes to give out as well.
And when are you going to run out of space? I guess is what I'm asking. Is this like do you have enough space now that, because like last year you said you had to top it out at 80?
If only. It's a pretty enormous space, as anybody who's gone for 4th of July or any of the other big events held around the Veterans Memorial can testify. It's a pretty substantial space. And if we ever grow this event to the point where we don't have room there, I would think it would be beyond a smash success. But we have plenty of room for this year, so don't hesitate.
So there's no cap, but you should also get in while you can.
Yeah, especially because if you register earlier, you have more opportunities, get a good space, come up with, work with the committee to come up with something cool to do at your table or your booth. There's a lot more ways to be creative about your participation if you get involved early.
Hey there, listeners. Are you in the Ocean Pines area and looking for a pharmacy that goes above and beyond? Look no further than Title Health Home Scripts. Open 6 days a week, our knowledgeable pharmacists are ready to fill your prescriptions in just minutes. Plus, we offer free home delivery in the Ocean Pines area and have a super convenient drive-through window. Need over-the-counter items? We've got a large selection. And with our monthly sales, you'll find everything you need at great prices. Conveniently located at the North Gate of Ocean Pines, Title Health Home Scripts is open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. To fill a prescription or arrange for a free home delivery, give us a call at 410-543-4769. That's 410-543-4769. Remember, that's Title Health Home Scripts, your trusted pharmacy partner.
The other thing that we're talking about here today is the Good Neighbor Award. Can you guys tell me about the origin story, how you guys decided that you wanted to have a Good Neighbor Award and the whole process to even just establishing it?
The Good Neighbor Award came out of the Communications Advisory Committee. For a number of years, the committee had kicked around the idea of, people of the attitude of gratitude. Oprah and other people have promoted that notion. And we wanted to give people an idea, an opportunity to talk about good things in the Ocean Pines community. I think I think in these days, particularly on social media, you can get overwhelmed by negativity. It's like any customer service business. You hear from the people who are unhappy. The people who are thrilled and happy don't often speak up.
Right.
So you especially looking online, you could kind of get a negative impression. Oh, things aren't going well, or things are, and there's so much good stuff happening in Ocean Pines and so many people who go out of their way to help their neighbors that we felt like there needed to be a way to celebrate the positive things and the positive people in our community. So after kicking around what to do with attitude of gratitude, we sort of focused on this idea of honoring good neighbors. And we had been talking for a while about how to do it. But then snowstorms hit Ocean Pines in January, and we started hearing and seeing about, oh, my wonderful neighbor came and shoveled my walk because I am elderly and couldn't do it myself. Or so and so helped me when I couldn't get out to go to the doctor. And it was so nice to see these people looking out for ways to help each other. And we realized that's what we need to celebrate. You can celebrate people who do big things. There are many wonderful charitable organizations and in our community. But what we really wanted to celebrate with Good Neighbors is those small one-on-one things that people do that make a huge difference in how you
Wow.
feel about living in this community. And with just barely announcing it a little over a month ago, we've gotten a little over a dozen great nominations already, where people have really understood the spirit of it and said, one woman had to spend 6 months in Baltimore because her husband was in the hospital. Her neighbors down here took care of her property, collected her mail and shipped it to her in Baltimore, made sure that everything was mowed and packages were picked up. And it was just the kind of small thing that makes a big difference in how you feel about your neighborhood and your
Right.
community. So that's what we'll be celebrating each month. You'll hear stories large and small. Like I said, we've already gotten more than a dozen entries and would love to hear more because I know these positive stories are out there in our community. I've witnessed it. I've seen it up close and personal. And it's wonderful when people help one another and feel good about helping one another. It's good for the giver and for the recipient.
And so how did you come to do your first one? Who won the first one, and how did they win it? And what were some of the other honorable mentions, if you'd like to say them?
Sure. Well, once the Ocean Pines marketing department put the word out about it, we did start getting some emails and some nominations from people. And there was a theme in the first few nominations we received. I guess we received 5 before the first one was awarded. And several people who were part of the Teal Circle Mitzvah team, just a small group of neighbors who have been doing good works. Several different people in that group were nominated by people in the community and mentioned all the things they've done, collecting socks for homeless people, collecting snacks for school kids, a lot of good works in big ways where they've done donation drives and other kinds of activities. And so we decided, because we had multiple nominations of various people in that team, that the first award would go to that team, the Teal Circle Mitzvah team. And Margaret Novak, who was one of the leaders of that team, has been promoting it and things. So she and another member of the team came to the board meeting last Saturday or in February.
A Saturday in February. Yeah, that's fine. We're just
Saturday.
located in
Yeah, I know.
time.
I know. I realize if I say last anyway, but they came and were honored, and it was wonderful. I mean, we it's a small thing, but we want people to be recognized. So they come to the meeting, they get a proclamation from the board, they get their picture taken with the board, they get a little gift card as a token of appreciation from Ocean Pines, and it reminds people, it inspires people to do good works and to recognize others' good works.
And can you tell me some of the stories like that were coming in about this team in particular? Was it what was it about this group that that rang everybody's bell? Did you notice like a theme, or was it kind of scattershot?
Oh, they really have focused on helping other organizations by doing collections. So a lot of people do, Toys for Tots or a coat drive or something. And they did that, but they took it to another level where they would say, well, there's also a need for socks, or there's a need for gently used shoes, or we really need toys, or this local daycare which is providing for kids who don't have huge resources. They could really use snacks for the kids to have every afternoon. They really looked at what the needs were in the community, and they did it as a group, and they promoted it in social media and other ways. And they literally opened their homes, their doors, their garages to pick up all of these items and took responsibility for shipping them to the right organizations that need it. So there was a team of, I want to say there's probably about 7 or 8 people who are involved in that group. And they made the little corner libraries. They made a little corner library in their neighborhood where people can give or take a book. They've done a lot of, and I think what really made them such an appealing first awardee is that they don't stop. Every month, every season, they have multiple initiatives going to help multiple small and large organizations. So that was inspiring. But I wouldn't want people to think, hey, if you're not here to do Toys for Tots, you're not worthy of this. This is also very much and probably more about those small personal things that neighbors do. One of the people who's nominated this for this next group that we're looking at, her thing is she bakes cookies for neighborhood kids who are going through a hard time. I mean, that's a small thing, but it's a personal effort to make somebody else's life better. And I think those kinds of small things, especially in times that are uncertain or difficult, like these days seem sometimes, those small gestures keep us remembering that our community is a good and positive thing and that we can help one another and make a difference. So I think as we're getting these more and more entries, I feel like I sit there and read them and I get choked up realizing how many people are trying to help one another in our community. It's very heartening to see it. I also want to mention that when people make a nomination, the 10th of each month, just so we can get, everything ready for a board meeting later in the month, the 10th is the deadline for each month's entries. But if you submit an entry and the person isn't selected that month, they stay in the pool for a year that we will keep looking at them. So you might have nominated somebody for February and someone else got picked in February, but that doesn't mean we won't honor the person that you nominated eventually. So I don't want people to think every month I have to send a new nomination for this person. Believe me, once they're in the queue, we're going to find a time to honor these people.
That's fantastic. And that was actually kind of my follow-up question. And I'm still sorry to put you on the spot, even though you almost answered my question. Will there be maybe an eventual, I don't know, honorable mention so that the rest of the community get to hear all of the stories? Because more than 12 people are going to be nominated or 10 people will be nominated over the next year. And I think people would be really happy to know, how many more stories there were that were just also, because it's always weird with these kind of events, because it's not like one person is better than another. Like doing good is doing good. Full stop. It's just there's only one person that gets recognized, but that doesn't mean there's only one person worth recognizing.
That's correct. And I hope there will be ways to get these stories out in a broader sense. I'm hoping to work with Ocean Pines Marketing to be sure these stories get told, whether or not the people are selected to be honored. But also, there's a member of the communications committee who is, a local reporter who writes sort of good news, good neighbor stuff. She's going to make sure some of these stories get out there. Everybody on the committee has sort of rallied around the idea that we want all of these people to be celebrated. So I think we will be spreading the word in a lot of different ways.
Excellent. And while we've got a couple minutes left before we have to start to wind down, I do want to ask if there's anything in the aquatics to look forward to this year, like any, I don't know, new pools, new lifeguards. Is anything changed about aquatics that people should be excited about in the coming year?
Not anything particular. It is important for people to sign up for pool memberships. You can do drop-ins if you want, but if you're going to go to the pool at least once a week, it probably makes sense to go ahead and get a pool membership. One of the other things that we're kind of looking forward to is with Touch of Italy taking over the new contract for the food and beverage, the beach club apparently is going to get some decorating changes inside. And I know that Touch of Italy has talked about possibly using the upstairs space that's kind of been ignored for the last several years. The pools are all being maintained properly. We're looking at some touching up in some of the bathrooms. We had heard that those needed some attention, and apparently John Viola is taking care of getting a lot of these things straightened up. And we're looking forward to everybody enjoying a new pool year.
Excellent. And the once again, the season kickoff is May 17th, and that's 2 weeks. When I first saw the date, I was like, "Oh, is that right before Memorial Day weekend?" Because that would seem, but that's like a test drive for the people who are around in the hardcore shoulder season, or
Yeah.
before all of the insanity starts.
Well, the good timing about it is by then the weather should definitely be a little warmer, but like you said, it's right before it's a couple weeks before Memorial Day. So this is right at the time when people need to make sure they've secured their pool memberships, and the pools are getting ready to open, and the season's getting ready to kick off. It's kind of a good time to get that momentum and excitement going.
Will there be opportunities to sign up? Like the aquatics, I guess, would probably be able to get a table there.
Oh yeah, all of the amenities will have tables there. Each amenity will have tables there, and some of them will be doing demos. Obviously, we're not going to do any
Water demos.
teach you your backstroke here, but the racket sports, the golf folks, a lot of people are able to do demos that kind of get people connected to those amenities.
It has a very almost first week of college kind of vibe, then, doesn't it?
It's orientation.
Yeah,
Right.
these are some of the fun things that you can do while living here at Ocean Pines. That's
Right.
very cool. Very cool. All right, and now I'm going to ask the last question that I warned you I would ask, and that is there anything I should have asked and didn't, or anything you thought you'd get the opportunity to say but I didn't provide it? Is any last thoughts?
I'd like to add one thing about the Ocean Pines Good Neighbors program,
Please.
and that is to tell people how to nominate someone. To nominate someone for this award, send an email to opgoodneighbors, plural, @gmail.com. So opgoodneighbors@gmail.com. Just send an inquiry, send a note there, and with who you want to nominate, and we'll get back to you to get the right form and get them into the queue.
Very cool. And is that all we have for today?
Gary?
I think so. We appreciate the time to kind of highlight what's going on with the kickoff. And again, if anybody's interested, please go to the website and sign up. And especially the different clubs and organizations here in Ocean Pines, it's a great opportunity to let people know what you're doing. So now please consider coming out and joining us on the 17th.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
The Pines Cast is an Ocean Pines Association production. It was written and edited by me, Tony Russo. Executive producer, Josh Davis. Please subscribe wherever you are listening now, or follow if you're on Apple. If you like the show, please tell someone else about it, because that is the best way to get the word out. Every week I say it, and this is a week, so I'm saying it. I would love to have your feedback, and I would love to keep this conversation going. So if you care to email me, you can do that at bytonyrusso@gmail.com. That is bytonyrusso@gmail.com. If, for example, there's a story you want to tell but you don't want to be on the show to tell it, or there's a story you want me to find out about and have someone else tell it, shoot me an email. I'll get it all worked out. And of course, we would love to have your ratings and reviews on the app of your choice, but mostly we want you to listen to the show. We want you to like the show. And as I said, we would very much like it if you told other people about it. You can also send along comments or questions that we will address in future shows as is possible and appropriate. And that is all for this week on the Pines Cast.